Donald Trump has become the first US president, former or serving, to be convicted at a criminal trial. Late last night, the jury returned a unanimous verdict, finding Mr. Trump guilty of 34 charges of falsifying business records. He's due to be sentenced on July 11th. This is what he had to say as he left court.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros backed DA, and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess.
Now, Manhattan's district attorney, Alvin Bragg, the man who brought the charges against Donald Trump, insisted he and his team treated this case the same way they would any other.
I did my job. Our job is to follow the facts and the law without fear or favor. And that's exactly what we did here. And the only voice that matters is the voice of the jury, and the jury has spoken.
Now, the verdict comes as Donald Trump campaigns to defeat Joe Biden in November's presidential election. A spokesperson for President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris released a statement in response, saying Donald Trump mistakenly believed he would never face consequences for breaking the law. Now, they have urged Americans to vote for President Biden in the US election, saying, convicted felon or not, Trump will be the Republican nominee for president. Now, some of those planning to vote have been sharing their reactions to the guilty verdict.
I don't know what to say. I did not think that this was actually going to happen, and I can't believe it. It's about time he was held accountable for something. I can't believe it. It's amazing.
This is something that has shown to all of the American people out there how corrupt our government and our court systems have become.
So let's speak to Professor Richard Painter, who was the chief White House ethics lawyer under President George W. Bush. Very good morning to you, Professor. So you've worked in politics. You're a lawyer yourself. I suppose first and foremost, you're an American. So tell me about your reaction to what happened in court.
Well, this was anticipated, this verdict. The prosecution had a very strong case that Donald Trump had falsified the business records of the Trump Organization to cover up the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels as hush money, which he had a right to make the payment, but he didn't have the right to falsify the business records in order to conceal it and keep it off his campaign finance reports. And this was a felony. His lawyer, Michael Cohen, clearly participated in that. He's a dishonest person, but many criminal trials, we have witnesses who participated in the crime, and yet their testimony is heard. There were many witnesses here, and the jury convicted Donald Trump. This is one of 4 criminal cases brought against the former president. All 3 of the other criminal cases, which have not yet been tried, are much more serious, although this is a serious case in and of itself. So he has serious legal difficulties, and he can blame it on the courts and say the system is corrupt, just like he said the 2020 election was rigged. That's been his mantra all along. But I should emphasize that we've had many unpopular presidents. George W. Bush was attacked politically repeatedly by the Democrats, and yet nobody ever brought criminal charges. Why? Because President Bush and other presidents have been smart enough to behave in a manner so that they're not going to get charged with in criminal cases. Donald Trump has acted otherwise, and he's now paying the price for that.
Professor, clearly Donald Trump emerging from the court saying it's rigged is not grounds for appeal. With your lawyer hat on, wherein lies the grounds for appeal?
Well, he will appeal, arguing that the jury instructions were not what they should have been, that evidence was allowed to be presented to the jury that was prejudicial, that shouldn't have been, maybe that there's too much questioning of Stormy Daniels about the specifics of their sexual relationship, which is not what this case is essentially about. There are various things that he will argue on appeal. I don't believe his appeal will be successful. But I don't believe that the New York appellate courts are going to listen to any of these arguments about, well, the system is rigged or the judge is a Democrat. President Biden, the Biden administration has absolutely nothing to do with this case. This is a case brought by a New York state prosecutor elected in Manhattan. This has nothing to do with the Biden administration. And the New York courts of appeals are not going to listen to those types of arguments.
Professor Painter, thank you very much for your time. Professor Painter is a former White House ethics lawyer during the time of the George W. Bush administration.